Hello? This is Patient X Files, where the rare becomes real. The girl who felt nothing. I watched her slam her hand in the car door. Hard. The kind of slam that would make anyone scream, cry, maybe even pass out. But Sarah just looked at her hand, tilted her head like she was solving a puzzle, and said casually, "Oh, I think something's wrong." Blood was already seeping through her fingers. Her pinky was bent at an angle that made my stomach turn. But her face? Completely calm, almost curious. Like she was watching someone else's hand get destroyed. That was my first real glimpse into Sarah's world. A world where pain doesn't exist, where your body can be breaking apart, and you'd never know until you see the damage with your own eyes. Sarah Martinez was born with congenital insensitivity to pain. CIP, a condition so rare that only a few hundred cases exist worldwide. To most people, it sounds like a superpower. No headaches, no broken bones screaming at you. No torture could ever break you. But here's what they don't tell you about living without pain. It's not a gift. It's a curse that comes wrapped in the most beautiful, deceptive packaging you've ever seen. Sarah learned this the hard way. By the time she was 5, she had broken 17 bones. 17. Her parents thought she was just clumsy. The doctors thought they were dealing with child abuse. Social services got involved, fingers pointed, families torn apart, all because a little girl couldn't feel her body destroying itself. The first major incident happened when she was 3. Sarah was playing in the backyard, and her mother went inside for just 5 minutes to answer a phone call. When she came back, Sarah was sitting in the sandbox, happily building castles. Her left arm was hanging at her side, completely limp. "Does it hurt, baby?" her mother asked, panic rising in her throat. "What hurts?" Sarah replied, genuinely confused. The arm was broken in 3 places. Sarah had fallen from the swing, landed badly, and just kept playing. For 20 minutes, with a shattered arm. That's when the nightmare really began for the Martinez family. Doctor after doctor, specialist after specialist, each one more baffled than the last. How do you explain to a child that the thing that's supposed to protect her, her body's alarm system, simply doesn't work? Pain isn't just sensation. It's survival. It's your body screaming, "Stop! Don't do that! You're in danger!" But Sarah's body was silent. A broken smoke detector in a house that was always on fire. By age 7, Sarah had learned to check herself constantly, running her hands over her body like a pilot doing pre-flight checks, looking for cuts, bruises, swelling, anything that might indicate damage. She became her own pain sensor, using her eyes and hands to do what her nervous system refused to. But children aren't supposed to live like that. They're supposed to run wild, take risks, learn boundaries by bumping into them. Sarah couldn't bump into anything. Every collision was potentially catastrophic. The worst part, the isolation. Other kids thought she was weird. Parents thought she was dangerous. Teachers didn't know how to handle a child who could seriously injure herself and not even notice. Sarah existed in this strange bubble where everyone around her was afraid of her condition, but she couldn't understand why. "Why does everyone keep asking if I'm okay?" she'd wonder. "I feel fine." But fine is a relative term when your body can't communicate with your brain. The turning point came when Sarah was 12. She was at a sleepover, and the girls decided to sneak into the kitchen for midnight snacks. In the darkness, Sarah reached for what she thought was the light switch. Instead, her hand found the hot stovetop. The smell hit everyone first. Burning flesh has a particular odor that once you know it, you never forget. Sarah was standing there, her palm pressed against the glowing electric coil, completely unaware that she was cooking her own hand. "Sarah," her friend screamed, "what are you doing?" Sarah looked down, confused. "I can't find the light switch." When she finally lifted her hand, the skin came with it. Third-degree burns across her entire palm, the kind of injury that would have sent anyone else to the emergency room within seconds. Sarah had stood there for almost 30 seconds, letting her flesh burn because she had no idea anything was wrong. That incident changed everything, not just for Sarah, but for everyone who witnessed it. Her friends were traumatized. Their parents banned them from playing with her. Sarah became the girl you felt sorry for but didn't want to get too close to in case her condition was somehow contagious. But something interesting happened during Sarah's recovery from that burn. The doctors, trying to understand how someone could endure such an injury without flinching, started studying her more intensively. They discovered that Sarah's condition wasn't just about pain. Her entire relationship with her body was different from everyone else's. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a neurologist at Children's Hospital, became fascinated by Sarah's case. She started working with Sarah not as a patient to be fixed, but as a person to be understood. "Tell me," Dr. Rodriguez asked during one of their sessions, "how do you know when you're hungry?" Sarah thought for a moment. "I look at the clock. If it's lunchtime, I eat lunch. And when you're tired?" "When it gets dark, I go to bed." Sarah had learned to live by external cues rather than internal signals. She ate by schedule, not appetite. She slept by routine, not exhaustion. She had become a master of reading the world around her to understand the world within her. This realization led to a breakthrough in how doctors approach CIP. Instead of focusing on what Sarah couldn't feel, they started focusing on what she could perceive. Temperature changes she could detect through visual cues. Pressure she could recognize through sound. Damage she could identify through careful observation. Sarah became part of a revolutionary treatment program. Not to cure her condition, that was impossible, but to help her navigate the world more safely. She learned to use technology as her nervous system, special clothing that would change color if she was bleeding, devices that would alert her to temperature changes, apps that reminded her to check for injuries. But the most important thing Sarah learned was something no technology could teach her. She learned to trust others to be her pain sensors when she couldn't trust her own body. Her family developed a code. They would do regular body checks together. Not out of fear, but out of love. Sarah's mother would run her hands along Sarah's arms and legs, feeling for swelling or heat. Sarah's father would check her hands and feet for cuts or bruises. Her younger brother would remind her to check her temperature when she looked flushed. It became a family ritual, as normal as brushing teeth or saying goodnight. They turned Sarah's disability into a reason to be more connected, more attentive, more present with each other. As Sarah grew older, she began to understand something that most people never realize. Pain isn't just a warning system, it's a teacher. Every scraped knee teaches you to be more careful. Every burned finger teaches you to respect heat. Every headache teaches you to rest when your body needs it. Sarah had to learn all these lessons intellectually rather than physically. She became a student of cause and effect in ways that most people never need to be. If she woke up dizzy, she learned to check if she had eaten enough the day before. If her vision was blurry, she learned to check if she was dehydrated. If her movements were sluggish, she learned to check if she had pushed her body too hard. In a strange way, Sarah became more in tune with her body than most people, not less. Because she couldn't rely on pain to guide her, she had to become hyper-aware of every other signal her body was sending. This hyper-awareness led to an unexpected gift. Sarah became incredibly good at reading other people's physical states. She could spot when someone was favoring one leg over the other. She could notice when someone was squinting slightly, indicating a headache. She could detect the subtle changes in posture that suggested back pain. "It's like I'm fluent in a language I can't speak," Sarah explained to Dr. Rodriguez during a session when she was 16. "I can see pain in others even though I can't feel it myself." This ability led Sarah to a career path she never could have imagined. She became a physical therapist, specializing in chronic pain management. Patients found her approach revolutionary because she didn't just treat their symptoms, she helped them understand their bodies in entirely new ways. "Pain isn't your enemy," Sarah would tell her patients. "It's your body's way of communicating with you. But sometimes the communication gets mixed up. Sometimes your body is shouting when it should be whispering. Sometimes it's speaking in a foreign language that you need help translating." Sarah's patients trusted her because she understood something that other therapists couldn't. She knew what it was like to have a body that couldn't communicate properly. She knew the fear of not knowing what was wrong. She knew the isolation of having a condition that others couldn't understand. But more than that, Sarah understood the power of adaptation. She had spent her entire life learning to listen to her body in different ways, and she could teach others to do the same. One of Sarah's most challenging patients was Marcus, a veteran who had lost his ability to feel pain in his legs after an injury. Most people would see Sarah and Marcus as having similar conditions, but their experiences were completely different. Marcus had lived 25 years with normal pain sensation before losing it. He knew what he was missing. He could remember what pain felt like, and that made the absence of it even more terrifying. "At least you've never known any different," Marcus said during one of their sessions, frustration clear in his voice. Sarah paused, choosing her words carefully. "You're right," she said. "I've never known what I'm missing. But that doesn't make it easier. It just makes it different." She helped Marcus understand that his experience of sudden pain loss was its own unique challenge, requiring its own unique adaptations. Together, they developed strategies that honored both their experiences while working toward the same goal: living safely in bodies that couldn't warn them of danger. This work with Marcus led Sarah to realize something profound about her condition. She had spent so much of her life focused on what she couldn't do, what she couldn't feel, what was missing from her experience. But working with patients who had acquired her condition later in life showed her something she had never considered. She had advantages that others didn't. She had never known the fear of losing sensation because she had never had it. She had never experienced the trauma of suddenly being unable to trust her body because she had never been able to trust it. Her condition wasn't just a disability, it was a different way of existing in the world. This realization changed everything for Sarah. Instead of seeing herself as broken, she began to see herself as adapted. Instead of focusing on what was missing, she focused on what was present. Instead of mourning the pain she couldn't feel, she celebrated the awareness she had developed. But this wasn't some simple journey to self-acceptance. Sarah still dealt with the practical realities of her condition every day. She still had to check herself constantly for injuries. She still had to be hypervigilant about her environment. She still faced the risks that came with not being able to feel pain. The difference was that she now understood these challenges as part of her unique way of navigating the world, not as failures or limitations. Sarah's story began to spread in the medical community, not just as a case study of a rare condition, but as an example of adaptation and resilience. Other families dealing with CIP reached out to her. Other patients with pain disorders sought her help. She became a bridge between the world of those who feel too much and those who feel nothing at all. Today, Sarah runs a clinic that specializes in pain perception disorders. She works with patients who have CIP like her, but also with those who have chronic pain conditions, phantom limb syndrome, and other disorders that affect how the body communicates sensory information to the brain. Her approach is revolutionary because it doesn't try to fix what's broken. Instead, it helps people work with their bodies as they are, developing new ways of communication and understanding. Your body is always talking to you, Sarah tells her patients. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it shouts, and sometimes it's completely silent. Our job is to learn to listen no matter what language it's speaking. Sarah never did learn to feel physical pain, but she learned something else entirely. She learned that the human body's capacity for adaptation is far more powerful than any single sensory system. She learned that what we think of as normal is just one way of experiencing the world among many possible ways. She learned that our limitations often contain the seeds of our greatest strengths. Most importantly, she learned that pain, while important, is not the only way our bodies communicate with us. Touch, temperature, pressure, balance, movement, all of these create a rich tapestry of sensation that exists independently of pain. Sarah had access to this entire world of feeling. She just had to learn to pay attention to it. The girl who started life unable to feel pain became a woman who could feel everything else more deeply than most people ever do. She learned to read her body like a complex instrument, interpreting subtle signals and changes that others might miss entirely. And in teaching others to do the same, Sarah discovered that her condition wasn't just a medical rarity. It was a window into the incredible adaptability of the human experience. A reminder that there are as many ways to be human as there are humans to be. Sarah's story doesn't end with a cure because there isn't one. It doesn't end with her learning to feel pain because that's impossible. Instead, it ends with something more powerful. The understanding that our bodies are not broken when they work differently than expected. They're just speaking a different language, one that we can learn to understand if we're willing to listen. Today, when someone asks Sarah what it's like to never feel pain, she has a different answer than she did as a child. It's like being fluent in a language that no one else speaks, she says. Sometimes that's isolating, but sometimes it allows you to say things that no one else can say, and hear things that no one else can hear. If you enjoyed this video, please support the channel. Like, share, and subscribe. Please write a comment what you think about this video.